Alright, welcome back to Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic, Lesson Non-Classics. This is episode number 3491, Doubleshot number 3385. I have two DC trades. The first one here is the penultimate trade to collect issues from this volume. And then after the next volume, that's it for this character. For now, until DC gives him another book. This being Green Arrow Volume 4. Not done by Josh Williamson this time. Oh no, this is done by Chris Candon, a brand new writer who takes over the book with basically a backup story to 217. He's here until pretty much the end of the book. Yes. Excuse me. So, like I mentioned before, with the reason why that Josh Williamson had to leave this title. The reason is because he was going through burnout, so he had to drop titles. Yes, he had to drop titles. The reason, well, like I said, burnout was the reason why, so in the case of Batman and Robin, he left that book after only publishing pretty much about the same amount of issues. I think it was like 13 issues. I think it was like 12, 13 issues he did that book. Then left. He actually brought back this book after a few years. And then he left. And there's no denying, whenever he writes a book, with the exception of Dark Crisis of Earths, generally the book he writes is really good. This book is kind of weird. For one thing, we have an update to Oliver Green's costume. Do not know the reason for this. It's that, this backpack, cool costume before. Now he's got a hood. Not really sure exactly what. Well, he had a hood before, but not where he has like two masks on. This is called Freshwater Kills. Now, this cover here, that's the Rebirth look that he had. Which Josh Williamson kept that look. Now we have the cover of his face up, his whole entire face. So, change scenery is set after the stuff with the first story of the book. So, he gets paid by Batman. This guy got Mr. Shimmer who dies. Yeah, basically just Oliver going up the circle. We have this brand spanking new outfit here, where basically he's wearing his traditional down mask and covering up his mouth. Do not know exactly the reason why. It's like, oh, let's try something different. Let's cover his face up. Despite the fact he already had a mask on. What, did the artist think that the down mask was not enough? The down mask has been part of his MO since the 40s. So, why had to cover it? I don't know. So, mention, this guy's got killed, so Oliver. Oh, by the way, also, I love the fact the artist remembered the fact that he had a Valkyrie beard. Yeah. That was something the late New Adams gave to him, but by the time of New 52 reboot, they got rid of it. And Dan DiDio admits that was a wrong idea. That was a bad idea. He admitted it 5 years after it happened. And then he got the goatee back, though it's a more traditional goatee, not the Valkyrie goatee. Now he's back in the Valkyrie goatee, which is fine. I have no problem with that. It's a good look for him. Goes on a city, and of course, we have to show the fact that he is ripped, because of course he is. Okay, first question I'm asking, where the heck is Black Canary? And where's the rest of the Green Arrow family? They don't play a role in this book. It's like the writer just shoved them to a side. So, you're probably thinking, where is his sister? Not here. Roy appears for a cameo. So, we have this detective he hangs out with, who, by the way, is not his girlfriend. Yeah. But there's some chemistry between the two of them. And she is a fairly original character. Her name is Detective Bendalis. Oh, and also the fact this issue 18 takes place just after the All-In one-shot. So, Oliver is, of course, brought to a scene. It's like this book is written like he's Batman. And there's this guy here who was not his supporting character you had before. Yeah. And we have this freshwater killer here, who is this killer who's here. And they, of course, takes on these particular people. And then finally we have Black Canary show up. She's beating up some bad guys while talking to Oliver on the phone. It's like she is just not here. Are they still an item? Okay, it looks like that Oliver is not. It's like he hits close to bullseye, but not hitting it. So he's angry and throws a fit and destroys his own target. And then the freshwater killer tries to kill this in issue 20. Yeah, and it's all about, public fighting against a serial killer, and yeah, these guys go. The guy's name is Ted Shepard. Yes, we're here at the Star City Police Department. By the way, in the rebirth, the whole post-Flashback continuity, Seattle was made to Star City for reasons. Actually, due to the fact that the city was in debt, so they kind of had to declare bankruptcy and kind of declare that this is something that Ben Percy did. I thought it was really interesting. Yep, it's like this whole freshwater stuff feels like it's something from like modern stuff. It's like, yeah, let's start a story where Oliver is dealing with politics, basically rural politics. Also, his quiver is literally inside of a pouch of his cloak for reasons. And my guess is they gave him a dog because Hawkeye has a dog, despite the fact that Green Arrow has never had a dog. Yeah, let's give him a dog just cuz. And I do appreciate the font here they have for Green Arrow in his book. That is actually the font that was there for Jeff Lemire's Green Arrow. Yes. I'm a little surprised they said he used that look. They said he used that font in the book. Yeah. Does he have a killer? He does. And he does find out who kind of is responsible for him. Oh yeah, and also the fact this guy says, oh yeah, he's gonna, well, he tells him basically, gives a condolence to the loss of his mother, and he's going to basically buy the neighborhood, tear it down, rebuild it new, and call it the Brenda Gordon Environmental Group. And he seems fine with it. Yeah, this guy seems fine with what Oliver's doing. Oliver shakes a woman's hand. It almost seems like basically that he's got a thing for a detective, despite the fact he has a girlfriend. And then they kind of walk it off, and then Lena Bendez. And then, of course, basically, then we finally see Roy. Yes, Roy Harper, a.k.a. Arsenal. As in Oliver's adopted son, who's been absent the whole storyline. And then he takes... Now, this is something that I thought was really kind of dumb. That we have to have Oliver Queen... We have Green Arrow do this. Fire arrows into a window and threaten the guy, talk about a list. Here's a list of names, take care of them. And then he goes home and looks like he has Thanksgiving. So, I have this weird feeling about this storyline is that this writer ripped off the Arrow TV show with this. With not exactly with it's like we have the serial killer here, mentioned about a list, We have a detective he's working with, a female detective, which that was something that, well, it's a different type of take, but it's like he took ideas from the TV show. And I'm like, okay, so I give this book roughly 8 out of 10. And I'm wondering, like, reading this book, okay, so here's a really good question. Where the heck is the rest of Team Arrow? Where is Leanne? Where is everybody? Answer? No idea. Because, of course, that the book itself didn't bother to answer that question. Yeah. Oh, yeah, and the French record here, it's almost like this was... How should I put this? It's almost like this guy was a writer for the Arrow TV show from season 1 and decided to do this. Yes. But we're going to find out more, hopefully, a chance in the next tree, which sadly put basically, well, it'll be the end of the book. Yeah. And it also felt like a little bit, reading this, felt not a lot like Arrow, but also felt a lot like Kevin Smith's Green Arrow. That's what it kind of felt like. Like early elements of it. Yeah. And by the way, there's no mention of his company. They didn't bring the fact he's rich. There's no mention of, it's like, yeah, this is definitely in the continuity. I'm like, what direction this book is going in is a complete mystery to me. And, well, I don't think anybody would know because the book would end not long after this. Yeah. 7 issues later, the book ends. Alright, so to a slightly better book, we have Wonder Woman, The Legend of Wonder Woman. This contains Wonder Woman issues 306, 329. Stories from DC Comics Presents 76. It blew down number 10 along with the Legend of Wonder Woman miniseries. Yeah. So, your writer here for these issues are a guy by the name of Dan Miskin. Yeah, he's your writer. Mostly put, it's like mid-80s. By the way, these issues took up the time period of August of 1983, and it concludes with, well, with the main issues, with 11329, February 1986. The last thing publishing here was published in August 1986. So, mostly put, just continue like some Wonder Woman adventures, fight Cheetah, her still dying apprentice in the military, fight off against this guy here who they fight off against throughout a lot of the book. Feels so like really interesting what they have here. There's even guest appearance by the Blue Beetle in one of the issues. And also we have a two-part storyline where we have a guest appearance by Elongated Man and Black Canary. And turns out Black Canary presents by a woman who's been dead for years. Okay. Yeah, it's a quick little two-parter for 308 and 309. It does get wrapped up pretty quickly. Actually, it looks like she's another issue for Black Canary. This stuff here with Ares, take on Gremlins. There's even an issue in here where Eden Candy becomes Wonder Woman. I mean, Eden Candy becomes Wonder Woman for one issue because why not? You're like, okay, yeah, Eden Candy. Also, there's with Cersei here, like. Okay, a lot of really cool stuff here. Yeah, there's no denying Dan Music did a really good job. It is really interesting to read. It's like, you read this, and it's like you couldn't just put it down. There's also conflicts with some of the Greek gods that's built up toward the end of the book, which also is a tie into Crisis of Earths, believe it or not. Yes, believe it or not, the last 3 issues are tie into Crisis of Earths. They even have one issue in here that was basically an epilogue to a Huntress, the Huntress feature. Yes. Yeah, so basically a lot of the remainder books, of course, they also return with Dr. Cyber, who is a long-time Wonder Woman here. She's back in these issues. Also the fact that they try to stop her at some points, and Wonder Woman just tries to stop her own villains. Like basically she takes on the Cheetah, obviously, takes on Dr. Cyber, who is a classic Wonder Woman villain. After dealing with them, and then, well, when comes the conflict with the gods? Well, then after issue 76 of DC Comics Presents, which just collects the opening story, which I have reviewed this issue already, so I'm going to move on with this one. Which, not surprised they included this in here because Dan Muesli wrote it, so why not? And then we have the Blue Beetle issue, which Dan Muesli wrote this book too. He wrote the whole thing. Yeah, he just somehow gets involved. Bye, Penelope. Yeah. So, well, it just happens to be here, and then goes back to her own title. 323 is the issue where Edith Candy becomes Wonder Woman for a single issue, while taking on Silver Swan, Dr. Psycho, The Ringer, and not Barbara Minerva, the original Cheetah. The one who was killed off by Barbara Minerva during Greg Rucka's run for Wonder Woman in the 2000s. Yep. I thought this was really cool, finding off the classic Wonder Woman villains. Excuse me. So, they get the power back, and then we have an Atomic Knight. They have to do with him because why not? Then Chaos Erupts, basically the very next issue deals with, and it's also with Edith Candy, and this later leads into the conflict with the gods. Yes, where issue 327, End of Everything Begins, which this issue, along with the next 3 issues, are tie-ins to Crisis of Earths, which with these 3 issues, the book will get restarted at number 1, which I'll talk about basically what happens, basically what happens after that. So, yeah, it's basically the gods are fighting each other. It's basically the Greek gods versus, I think, some Native American gods, I think it is. Or at least some other tribes' gods. Minnie Newell takes over the writing duties made of the book. Which, it's a lot of really good conflict. And then comes the last issue, which is a really pivotal issue. 48-page special. So, they finally have the conflict. And they mentioned about the whole thing with the Anti-Monitor, which, of course, basically was happening in Crisis on Earth at the time. And of course, when we were reading this with Steve during this whole conflict, rides Invisible Jet. Yep. And, well, then, of course, they wrap up the conflict. A lot of this book, they wrap up the conflict. Zeus basically the conflict over. After the rogue gods, basically. So, then with the conflict over, it's like, here's the marble statues. Steve. Mary said before we left Washington, I want to see her love, now and forever, now in the eyes of the gods. Zeus said, we will be gone tomorrow. You're true. And then, of course, Steve asked basically the king of Olympus, "Hey Zeus, how are you performing marriages?" Hippolyta is shocked by this, and of course, basically, "Mother, be happy for me. I love him. I love you." And she seems pretty happy with it, and Zeus performs the ceremony. By the way, this is Earth 1 Wonder Woman marrying Earth 1 Steve Trevor. And they get married in the final issue. Yes, because of a big conflict. And then we have the Legend of Wonder Woman series we discussed in the Legend of Wonder Woman trade. But this book, overall, I gotta admit, basically, like, these issues were a lot of fun. Yes, no denying. The 80s comics tend to be really good to read. Especially DC comic ones. Yeah, for Marvel and DC, Marvel had a lot of hits in the 80s. I would say that DC did too. I would say the ones I've read, I would say probably the best books, in my honest opinion, published by these comics in the 80s. The sort of 9 Teen Titans was really good. Yeah, the new Teen Titans, the whole decade of comics for New Titans, that was fantastic. I'd say Detective was really good. So was Batman. I would say at the start of the decade, Superman was actually pretty good. I read all of Superman in the 80s, but the ones I've read, Justice League, it did slip in sales, but there's no denying. Jerry Conway did an amazing job. He basically kept the book afloat, in my honest opinion. Yeah, the book did get canceled, just like America, but we had an amazing relaunch by Keith Giffen, Jada Matthias, and Kevin McGuire with Justice League International. As Wonder Woman hand, I have not reviewed a lot of the 80s stuff. I would say I'd say at this point I probably reviewed most of the 80s, but all of it. So, of course, after this become the very popular George Perez run right after this, which he would leave after 62 issues. I have heard the reason why he left, because he felt DC was on Wonder Woman's anniversary up, also the Lord of God stuff. And then came William Messer Lopes, who pretty much did from issue, mostly except for like about 3 issues, he was regarded from issue 63 to issue 100. Of course, he had Mike Deodato do his amazing covers. I love his covers, different Wonder Woman. And there's no denying, the first 100 issues are amazing. There's not a bad issue in the first 100 issues. Yeah, the whole second trial of the Amazons thing with all the when they bring in Artemis, I thought it was really kind of odd, but still really interesting storyline. The John Byrne stuff was actually good. I love his artwork he did for the book, and it was amazing. I do agree with the opinion that basically him chaperoning down the trip was a terrible idea. Of course, Philip Menace did some good issues. Walt Simonson did. Greg Rucka had finished in the run. I mean, there's no denying that volume 2 was amazing. I mean, there's not really, like, in the 226 issues that book published for, I don't think there was a bad issue. I didn't think anything was bad. Not in the slightest. It was basically a fantastic run. It never slipped, in my honest opinion. Can't say the same for its other relaunch in 2006, which I felt very necessary. I think anybody reading at the time probably thought this was not necessary. This feels fine because we were in the universe afterwards. A big epic conclusion with this one. Though, of course, it took, after the first 13 issues, like, if you read the first 13 issues for Wonder Woman, the first few issues of Who's Wonder Woman is a good storyline. But for issues 6 to 13, my gosh, this book dropped. It just felt as though the writer had no idea what they were doing. And then afterward, we had Gail Simone, who did amazing with the book. And the book was amazing, you know, up until, and then we had that renumbering to issue 600 due to postcards. And that was on my JMS. And then we had New 52 reboot, which of course basically was the Brian Ezra Clifford Chang, and the other part, like, basically they did the first 35 issues that run. The rest of the book was done by David Finch and Meredith Finch. I have heard basically there's not been an omnibus collected for that book, for that run. Like, there is omnibus of, there's like a few printings of the Brian Ezra stuff, but nothing from Meredith Finch. I thought that was kind of weird. Of course, Rebirth was amazing. I love all Rebirth. Like, a lot of the stuff posted over the years really good. Until we get to Tom King. Tom King is another, well, he's done okay, decent issues, but he's got good artwork for this stuff. So I'd say as of right now, Wonder Woman, I reviewed mostly from the year of like 1984 until fairly recently, which is awesome. Now, as for the first volume as a whole when it comes to Wonder Woman, like, what exactly does it think of Wonder Woman? Well, to my knowledge, this is what's left to review for Volume 1, because Volumes 2 to recently is mostly reviewed. So here's what's left. I still got to review issues 12 to 97 and 212 to 305. Yep, that's how much I got left to go. Yep, So aside from the current volume, that's all that's left to go for Wonder Woman. And it'll pretty much be caught up, which would be nice. Throw the window, but now I can't exactly fully say review all Wonder Woman volume because I haven't. Like, how many issues left overall? I'm looking right now. Let's see. That is 86. Let's see. How many issues is that there? So I have exactly 181 issues left to go to review for Volume 1 for Wonder Woman. Yep, that's how much left to go. Yep, so yeah, that's pretty much a particular video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. The problem about my stream coming next was delayed, so probably see for that stream. I as in the case of if I get a chance to read my 4 anime today, I probably will start it tomorrow at this point. Yep, thanks for you. Bye.